Hello. I've been a long time lurker on here, and in the past few years I've posted some story and caption stuff on Tumblr, though it doesn't really fit here. If you like this story you may like that as well. Just search up Good Night and go on Tumblr if you are interested. I posted this beginning to this story on Wattpad, and I decided I kinda wanted to post it here to get some good feedback. I'm not aiming for a literary masterpiece, it's primarily a way to put a bunch of my school-aged fantasies into circumstances that feel slightly more real, and at the beginning I think I fall into the trap of just writing accident to accident, but I think it improves later. Background info. Before I start the story I want to explain a little about the world it takes place in. It's similar to our own, except that the muscles humans use to control their bladders and bowels don't develop to a point where humans are capable of training them until they reach puberty. Any attempt to potty train a child before age 11 to 12 will almost certainly be in vain unless they are a very fast developer. As in our world, boys and girls go through puberty differently. Most boys are able to master daytime control between the ages of 13 to 16 and nearly all graduate high school in underwear, at least during the day. Girls on the other hand typically take a bit longer to train, especially with bladder control. Some girls are able to train early like boys, but an average girl will probably gain close to full daytime control between the ages of 16 to 18, with it not being rare to see women in their early 20s still in the process of potty training. Also, as in our world, it isn't uncommon to have difficulty with nighttime training for significant amounts of time after they gain daytime control. It's approximately as common for both men and women to wet the bed into their late 20s as it is for a child of about 10 to wet the bed in our reality. So, now that you know the basics of how this world works, we can get to the actual story. No matter how many years I've been doing it now, it always feels weird to show up to school in nothing but a shirt and my pull-up. My name is Sabrina, I'm 18, in my senior year of high school, and I'm attending my last diaper day, or D-Day as we call it for short, before I graduate. To give you some context, my high school is kinda small and it's a private school. A lot of the kids here are pretty rich and stuck up in some cases, definitely not all of them. I have a good group of friends, but the school used to have a major problem with cliquishness. One major distinguishing factor kids used to exclude each other socially was potty training status. Kids who were potty trained, or at least outwardly claimed to be, would bully, belittle, and exclude kids who weren't trained. Diapers and training pants grew to be seen as something to be ashamed of, despite the fact that when considering the whole school, more kids wear some kind of protection than not. Then, about 10 years ago, before I started going here obviously, the principal decided to take a more hands-on approach towards resolving this major source of bullying. First, rules were made establishing strict punishments towards anyone making disparaging remarks about students in diapers. Finally, he instituted his key piece of potty training inclusiveness policy, a day where all students who wore diapers would come to school with their diapers completely exposed, out in the open. His hope was that if enough people participated, the student body at large would become desensitized to diapers and realize just how many students rely on them. The school has records of who is and isn't trained through medical records and records of in-school diaper changes. They know that most kids wear diapers at least some of the time. They hoped that if the kids realized this, that the bullying would have some of the sting of shame removed from it. Diaper Day, as it was called, was risky. What if kids just don't do it? The school really couldn't penalize students for wearing pants. But somehow enough kids participated the first year that it was deemed a success. D-Day has grown each year since, and now almost everyone who wears protection shows up diaper exposed on D-Day. Even kids who normally only wear protection at night will show up to school diapered. A big part of how it has been received is that there's a big assembly about potty training awareness, and to fit that in, classes are a little shorter and tests aren't allowed, so it's kinda like a free day where you can show up to school and hang out with your friends instead of stressing about academics, or making it to the bathroom for that matter. I showed up today wearing only my senior class t-shirt, my checkerboard Vans, and a pull-up. I'm in pull-ups pretty much all the time. On occasion I'll wear a diaper if I'm traveling or something, and I wear diapers to bed, but I've never worn panties. I've wanted to try them before, but my parents keep telling me I'm not ready for them yet. I like to get to school early and relax before the day gets started. As I'm walking through the parking lot I still feel very exposed, but hey, I have nice legs and a cute butt, and my pull-up is still dry. I have nothing to be ashamed of. My classmate Sophie is sitting by the lockers. She's a little weird by high school standards, but we're friendly cause we both get here early and see a lot of each other before anyone else gets here. She's also wearing a pull-up, but she's only been wearing them at night for a year or two at this point, so I don't suspect she'll be wet at any point today. That's the one stressful part of D-Day. Not only can everyone see your diaper, but they can also see anything you've done in it. I was reminded of this when Sophie noticed I had trailed off and had started tugging on my pull-up. You need to use the toilet, Sabrina?" she asked hesitantly. "Yeah, I gotta go," I blurted out quickly and scampered off to the bathroom. I spurted into my pull-up a little bit as I walked into the stall, but I still counted it as a success. Afterward I slid my still mostly dry training pants back up. I excitedly logged my mostly successful trip to the toilet in my potty training app on my phone. After a bad day yesterday where I only made it once, I was hoping to be better with the potty today. I grabbed my things and headed to the library, a popular preschool hangout place, to see who else was here. I saw Caroline sitting alone at a table on her phone. Caroline is popular and very pretty, but among the popular crowd she's one of the nicer, more approachable ones. I sat down by her and chatted for a while. She was talking about some party she went to last weekend. My incredibly introverted self tried to look as though I knew what she was talking about, but all of a sudden she stopped dead in her tracks. You good? I asked. Yeah, I'm just pooping, she said in a strained voice, as her face began to glow slightly red and she began to grunt as she grabbed onto the armrests of her chair and instinctively lifted up off her seat to mess her training pants. Once she was done she put her butt back in her seat and went on talking like nothing happened. Caroline had a bit of a reputation as someone who probably shouldn't have graduated to training pants. Of course we don't really make fun of kids for their potty training status anymore, but stuff does get said behind people's backs. People are still very insecure about their potty training and can also still be rather judgy about others. I can attest to that. By senior year almost everyone has at least made the jump to training pants if they aren't trained already. Often some people who may not really be ready for that step will make the jump just to fit in, but really all they're doing is using a pull-up as a less effective diaper. There are a few of those kids in every class and I can understand why. There isn't as much overt bullying at our school, but there's still a huge social and societal pressure on teens to potty train. It can be very stressful and a strain on the self-esteem. By senior year almost every guy and more than half of girls are reliably trained during the day, and as someone who hasn't even tried panties yet I feel like I'm starting to fall behind. As I finish talking with Caroline we part ways so she can go find a changer before homeroom, because you don't want to go to class messy, especially in just a pull-up. People will notice and you will stink up the room. As Caroline is waddling off I finally see my best friend Kate, who just arrived at school. Like me, she's wearing just a t-shirt and her pull-up. Unlike me her pull-up is a bit droopy and the slightest bit yellow. We hug and she pats my diapered butt. Wow, you still feel dry, she says, sounding happy for me. Yet I actually made it to the potty this morning, I reply, trying to stifle my excitement about it, though I am slightly embarrassed that I blurted out made it to the potty instead used the toilet. That definitely didn't sound very mature. Yeah, I saw you looking at mine. I kinda had to go on the drive here so I just let it go. Now homeroom is about to start and I don't really have time to change so I'm just gonna have to go in like this. Is it noticeable? She asked, looking down at her clearly wet training pants. Kate's a very skinny girl, so it's kinda easy to tell when her diaper is swollen or droopy. Yeah, a little lol, but I'm sure you won't be the only one, I insisted, not wanting to lie, but not wanting my friend to feel bad. I guess, she mumbled, seeming kinda defeated. I was low-key counting on you being wet already, but I guess you have the start off with a lead today, she admitted, also referencing our informal potty training competition that's been going on for years now. Yeah, well, I'll probably need it, I confessed. Both of us know that if we'd actually been keeping track of how often we made it to the bathroom she'd be far ahead of me. Okay, well, I gotta go get my books before class starts. Wish me luck, she said as she started heading towards her locker, instinctively pulling up her diaper which has started to sag off of her hips. Get changed, I yelled after her, and I headed off towards homeroom myself. End or part 1. Hello. I've been a long time lurker on here, and in the past few years I've posted some story and caption stuff on Tumblr, though it doesn't really fit here. If you like this story you may like that as well. Just search up Good Night and go on Tumblr if you are interested. I posted this beginning to this story on Wattpad, and I decided I kinda wanted to post it here to get some good feedback. I'm not aiming for a literary masterpiece, it's primarily a way to put a bunch of my school-aged fantasies into circumstances that feel slightly more real, and at the beginning I think I fall into the trap of just writing accident to accident, but I think it improves later. Background info. Before I start the story I want to explain a little about the world it takes place in. It's similar to our own, except that the muscles humans use to control their bladders and bowels don't develop to a point where humans are capable of training them until they reach puberty. Any attempt to potty train a child before age 11 to 12 will almost certainly be in vain unless they are a very fast developer. As in our world, boys and girls go through puberty differently. Most boys are able to master daytime control between the ages of 13 to 16 and nearly all graduate high school in underwear, at least during the day. Girls on the other hand typically take a bit longer to train, especially with bladder control. Some girls are able to train early like boys, but an average girl will probably gain close to full daytime control between the ages of 16 to 18, with it not being rare to see women in their early 20s still in the process of potty training. Also, as in our world, it isn't uncommon to have difficulty with nighttime training for significant amounts of time after they gain daytime control. It's approximately as common for both men and women to wet the bed into their late 20s as it is for a child of about 10 to wet the bed in our reality. Out of my homeroom of 11, only 2 of us were in diapers for D-Day. But our homeroom is mainly boys and we're seniors, so I guess that's normal. Homeroom was normally little more than attendance and a way to hand out report cards, but on D-Day something else was handed out, the Diaper Day survey. Every diaper day we fill out these surveys anonymously, giving a bunch of information on our diaper use. Eventually the results get tallied and then the school basically reaches the conclusion that a lot of us wear diapers and we aren't supposed to feel bad about it. It's a little weird, but it's tradition at this point. My homeroom teacher, Ms. Harrison, is very friendly, sometimes overly friendly, especially first thing in the morning. "Oh my god, you guys look so cute!" she exclaimed, looking at me and Christina, the only ones wearing protection. We both gave her a polite chuckle and an awkward thanks. Christina was pretty popular, and unlike me pretty close to getting out of pull UPS. She wasn't even wearing the good nights most kids, including me, wore. She was wearing the high-waisted pretty adult pull-ups. Sure, they weren't as absorbent, but if you can deal with that, they're much slimmer, quieter, and grown-up looking. If they're dry and you hide the stretchy sides and high waist, they even look like normal underwear. I looked at her and then to my bulky training pants with babyish purple flowers on them and sighed. Once everyone finally arrived, Ms. Harrison handed out the survey. Even if you weren't really participating in D-Day, you were still supposed to fill out the survey so the shook could get their numbers accurate, so a lot of people just say no to all the questions. I wouldn't be doing that though. Year, senior. Gender, female. Question 1. Have you worn diapers/training pants at any point in the past calendar year? That's a definite yes for me. Question 2. Do you wear diapers/training pants on a daily basis, either at night or during the day? Again yes. Question 3. Do you have accidents in bed regularly? And if yes, how many nights a week would you say you have accidents on average? Once again yes, I'd say I wet the bed 6 nights a week on average. There are nights when I don't wet, but that's more of a fluke than anything else. I do occasionally mess at night, but it's pretty rare and normally because I had an upset stomach or I ate something weird. Question 4. What undergarment do you most frequently wear to bed? I've been begging my parents to let me try good nights more at night. I rarely mess anymore, and the last few times I tried it I haven't leaked. But nope, it's still tape-up diapers at night for me most of the time. Question 5. Do you wear diapers/training pants during the day regularly? Yes, every single day of my life. Question 6. What percentage of the time would you say you make it to the bathroom on an average day? I'd estimate like a bit less than half of the time off the top of my head, but I decide to check my training app. I've been trying to log all my bathroom trips, accidents, and changes, so it should give me a relatively accurate reading. I go to the My Stats section of the app. My potty percentage for the past month is 27%. Wow, that's a bit lower than I thought. I'm really only making it slightly more than a quarter of the time? Maybe my parents were right to not let me try panties yet. 30% I circle on the survey. Question 7. What kind of undergarment do you most commonly wear during the day? I look down at my pantsless crotch to reaffirm my answer of pull-up training pants. Question 8. What percentage of your BMS happen on the toilet? I still do mess myself occasionally, though it's rare, and it almost always when I'm already on the way to the bathroom. I don't get caught off guard by messes anymore. Once again I check the My Stats section of my training app. It says my poop percentage is 85%. So yeah, I mess myself like once or twice a week. That makes sense. 90% I mark down on the survey. Question 9. If you aren't trained, would you say your level of potty training has improved over the past year? This one's a bit hard for me, not hard to answer, but maybe hard to admit to myself. I think I'm pretty much in the same place as I was last year in terms of training. I circle no. Question 10. Are you satisfied with your level of potty training? Honestly, I don't mind diapers. There are kids who are grossed out and immediately change whenever they have accidents, and adults love to tell us how gross it is to sit in your own pee and poop, but I've been doing it for 18 years, I'm used to it and I'm fine with it. What I do mind is the societal pressure to train. I mind the looks I get from my extended family when they learn I'm not trained yet. I mind that apparently college guys don't like untrained girls, or so I've been told. I mind that with every year that goes by, the percentage of kids my age answering yes to every question on this survey, like me, goes down. Sometimes I feel like I'm potty training for other people instead of for myself. Maybe that's why it's not working. No, I circle on the survey. It's supposed to be a day where kids who wear diapers can feel good about themselves, but those last few questions kinda put me in a bad mood about the whole thing. I'm so glad you guys are seniors now. Next period I have freshmen, they're probably gonna stink. Ms. Harrison jokes as she's collecting the surveys. All the trained kids giggle, I give a fake giggle wanting to seem in on the joke, but then quickly Christina and I shoot each other glances. We both felt kinda singled out by that comment. The bell rings signaling the start of first period, so we quickly head to our first classes. My first class is physics. I sit next to Allison, she's the only other senior girl in the class, so we've become friendly this year, but we aren't super close. I think she's been daytime trained for a bit now, but I'm relieved to see her wearing a pull-up today. I was slightly afraid I'd be the only one wearing one in this class. So you're still bedwetting then? I ask. Yes, despite my parents' best attempts, she responds. Ever since I trained during the day they've been trying everything. They've tried limiting my fluids, putting me on meds, and now I have to wear a stupid bedwetting alarm, though so far it only seems good for waking me up at 3 a.m. when I'm already halfway through wetting, she clarified, while also trying to suppress a yawn. But I mean, I do want to be dry for college, so we'll see if anything works. So anyways, how's your training going? Okay, I start, trying to think of something positive to say. It's very hard for me to not feel inferior when discussing potty training with someone who is clearly ahead of me, but I try to fight through it. I'm still focusing on getting daytime down, but I've pretty much stopped messing recently, so that's a step in the right direction. I'm slightly stretching the truth, but whatever. Wow, that's a big step, I'm happy for you. She beams. I know she's trying to be nice and supportive, but I can't help but hear that as a demeaning coming from her. On top of that, I know it's hollow praise considering I lied to her. The rest of the class went in uneventfully. I like my teacher, but I just find physics especially boring. I excused myself to go to the bathroom in the middle. I sat down on the toilet and tried for like 3 minutes, but nothing came out, so I just pulled my good night back up and returned to class until it was over. Drama class was next. Drama is my favorite. Acting is one of the things I'm most passionate about. I always get lead roles in school plays, and also I'm friends with pretty much everyone in class. Lastly, I knew I wouldn't be alone in D-Day participation. In that small class I knew another 4 were padded. I walked in and was greeted by my friend Kate, wearing a noticeably not droopy pull-up. I see you found time to change, I remark. Yeah, as soon as I got to homeroom Mr. Smith made me change. He took one look and said he didn't want me leaking on his seats. I think he was half joking, Kate recalls. No, your pull-up was soaked. I'm not so sure he was joking, lol, I chide her. Well, you are an expert on soaked pull-ups, Kate responds quickly with a smirk. While you would normally be correct, I am still quite dry. I correct her with pride, while lifting up the hem of my shirt to show off my dry training pants. LOL, give it an hour and we'll see. Kate was always ready with a comeback. Soon the others began to file in. Gabby walked in first. She, like me and Kate, was also wearing just a t-shirt and a pull-up. Unlike us, however, that pull-up might remain dry for the day. Gabby had, just recently this year, made a lot of progress towards daytime training. Hey guys, she greets us warmly. Happy D-Day. She squeals. D-Day is always more fun in classes where more people are wearing, really allows us to relax more. Wow, both you guys are still dry. That's awesome. Gabby notices. Normally that'd be a bit weird to point out, but Gabby, Kate, and I also all have potty training together next period, so we keep tabs on each other. This is my second one today, Kate admits somewhat dejectedly. But I'm still dry. I blurt out. Wow, Sabrina, you're doing great. I know it's sincere coming from Gabby. She knows how hard it's been for me, but even so it feels a bit odd that I've gotten congratulated like 3 times for keeping my pull-up dry and it's only second period. Do people really expect that little of me? I think silently to myself. Next Alex and Andrew come in. They're good friends, and they kinda act like goofballs in this class, but it's acting, so whatever. Andrew is one of the less than 10 guys who still participated in D-Day. He's been daytime trained since freshman year, but he still wets the bed pretty often, so he's wearing one of his good nights. Me and him have a bunch of classes together this year, so I've gotten to know him a little better. Andrew waves to me as he walks in. I wave back and smile before he goes back to joking around with Alex. Then Cole comes in. I've been friends with him forever, since he's normally also a lead in whatever play we do, but truthfully he can be just kinda a lot sometimes. He's just kinda a drama queen. Finally Lisa comes in, stressed out and running late as usual. She's a nice, smart girl, but for some reason she just seems constantly overwhelmed by life. She's also one of the 2 girls in our grade who are still in diapers full time. She comes in and plops her bag on the ground next to us and forcefully plops down while letting out an exasperated sigh. Her thick white diaper crinkles loudly as she does so. I noticed she looks a little wet, but her diaper can definitely hold a good amount more. Once everyone's here, Mr. Ellison comes in and we can get started. Okay guys, since it's D-Day and classes are about shorter, I was thinking we could just goof around and do some improv games. So, Sabrina and Gabby, get up there, let's do Freeze and Justify. Freeze and Justify is a game where the two people on stage improvise a scene until someone in class calls for them to freeze. They then tag someone out and assume whatever position that person was in and come up with a new premise for the scene. Me and Gabby head up to our mini stage and get started. Prom is coming up, so I decide to do a scene about a mom and daughter trying on prom dresses. I'm the daughter and Gabby plays along as the mom. We try on a couple dresses, we work in some funny mom and daughter bickering, and then we get to a dress where I ask, is it too tight? Can you see my diaper? A common concern for untrained girls going dress shopping. Gabby goes around me and placed her hands on my hips and looks at my butt as she pretends to look for a diaper outline. Really, she's just looking at my ass in a pull-up. Finally Andrew calls freeze, but the second I freeze up I immediately start flooding my pull-up without any warning. Some people have no reaction to peeing, and unless you could see their diaper you wouldn't know, but it's not very subtle when I pee. My eyebrows scrunch up, my mouth opens slightly, my eyes kinda glaze over, and if I'm standing my knees buckle slightly. Everyone can tell what's happening when I go, just this time I have the added pleasure of everyone looking at me on stage while wearing an exposed pull-up. Not to mention Gabby having a front row seat, literally frozen staring at my ass, hands on my hips as my pull-up starts to yellow and sag. Oh no Brina, I'm so sorry, she whispers. By the time Andrew makes his way on stage to tag one of us out, I'm done peeing. I really hope he tags me so I can get off stage and kinda process what just happened, but instead he tags Gabby and assumes her position. Mr. Ellison tells him to start the scene. Hips here, Andrew snaps in a Russian accent, adjusting my hips. Leg here, he contorts my leg into a ballet-like position. I feel a warm tingle in my stomach as he forcefully moves my body, but my attention is more between my legs than on him. I realize he's supposed to be some Russian ballet instructor and I'm his student. Like this? I ask and then proceed to do a bunch of exaggerated ballet movements trying to go for some laughs. All I'm able to focus on is my good night full of pee sloshing between my legs every time I move. Kate calls out freeze while one of my legs is way up high in a kind of arabesque type position. I can feel my good night drooping halfway down my thigh on my supporting leg. As she comes up to tag me she whispers, I got you. Thank you, I whisper back mercifully as I finally get off stage. I head back to my seat, but on the way Mr. Ellison intercepts me. You can go if you need to, Sabrina, he says quietly, subtly suggesting I change. I just nod my head and walk towards my backpack to grab a new pull-up before going to the bathroom to change. I was a little embarrassed, but I was used to it by this point. I knew it was wishful thinking to think I could have stayed dry all day. I just wish I hadn't wet while on stage and then had to dance around in a soaking wet pull-up. It was just one wetting and I changed right away so I don't bother with wipes or powder. I just tear off my wet one and slide on my new pull-up before heading back to class. When I got back in I saw nearly everyone paying attention to Kate and Cole doing their scene, everyone except Lisa. She appears to be taking advantage of everyone's attention being up front as she is fully squatting down and pushing a mess into her diaper in the back of the room. Once she's done she comes back, plops her messy bottom back into her seat next to me. Don't you wanna change? I almost want to ask her. I hate sitting in my own poop, but I keep my mouth shut. I don't wanna embarrass her. Freeze. Lisa yells to the performers on stage. She stands and makes her way up front to take her turn. If her waddle don't give it away, the sag and clear discoloration of her diaper definitely gave away what she ate. Gabby and I made our way across campus to potty training. Kate and Gabby quickly started talking about boys. Kate had just recently started seeing a guy from another school, and Gabby has been dating a guy in our class, Joseph, on and off for the past year or so. I was single, I'd talked to guys, but I haven't really gone out on dates or done anything else, so I didn't really contribute anything to their conversation besides awkward silence. Are you okay, Sabrina? Gabby asked. I guess, I don't know, I'm just kinda down today. I spat out, upset about what happened during drama. Gabby inquired. I took a big sigh before responding, no, I mean it certainly didn't help, but really filling out the survey this morning kind of bummed me out. I just realized my answers have barely changed since I started wearing pull-ups like 3 years ago, and I just feel behind. Trainer, my potty training app, says I've only been making it to the toilet like a quarter of the time. I feel like almost all the girls in our grade are either trained or making progress towards it, and I'm just stuck. Everyone is ready at a different time, Kate quickly responded. Yeah, it's not like you aren't trying, I know that you are, and that's all you can do. Everyone's body is different, Gabby added. I just nodded. Of course I recognized the cliched platitudes repeatedly told to every kid struggling with potty training, but I didn't feel like pushing that issue with them would do any good. I just looked up at Gabby in the eyes and cut the BS and asked about what was really bothering me, though in hindsight maybe I shouldn't have. What does Joseph think about you not being trained yet? I prodded. Anxiety flashed across her face momentarily before she recomposed herself. He's supportive of my training, and he recognizes that I'm making progress, she said kinda unconvincingly, like she was leaving stuff out. I responded simply with raised eyebrows, but yes, she whimpered. I mean, when he notices I'm wet, he comments sometimes about how it's gross and unhygienic that I'm sitting in my own pee. And he's always asking me if I'm wet or if I need to change, and when I tell him that's none of his business he gets upset, she continued, now just clearly venting. And the one time I accidentally messed in front of him he acted like a fucking baby and started gagging and telling me I was gross, and how he couldn't believe I would do that to him, as if I did it on purpose, as if I wasn't embarrassed enough already. Gabby stopped, trying to regain composure. But I guess you have a point. Yeah, there was a reason she and Joseph were on and off. It was kind of an open secret that he treated her like shit, but all of our friends were growing tired of telling her to break it off with him. She just kept crawling back to him. Hopefully she'd outgrow him in college. Kate gave her a comforting rub on the lower back, purposefully touching the top of her pull-up, and reassured her, it's okay Gabby, you're doing so well. The three of us just kept walking. We were almost at class anyways. Potty training at my high school is just basically what non-potty trained kids had instead of a study hall, and it's basically a study hall with some extra quirks. It takes place in a classroom that has a changing table and some bathroom stalls on one end. Sometimes our instructor, Mrs. Hernandez, has us do some exercises at the beginning of the period that are supposed to strengthen our bladder and bowel muscles, but I don't know if they really do anything. Other than that, it's pretty much a study hall. We catch up on work, and occasionally meet one-on-one with Mrs. Hernandez to discuss potty training progress and get advised. I always hate those meetings cause I feel like I just say the same thing every time, get the same advice, and then nothing changes. But I guess you can't really expect to get potty trained by going to a 45-minute class 5 days a week. It's a full-time job. Nothing special in class today though. We just sat at a table and got caught up on schoolwork. Gabby, Kate, and I sat down at table with our friend Michelle. Michelle is kinda perfect. She's incredibly smart and driven. She's probably gonna be our valedictorian. She's cute, she's friendly, she's an athlete, she runs track with Kate, and she's probably gonna get into whatever college she wants. The only thing she isn't perfect at is using the toilet. I'd never tell her to her face, but she probably shouldn't be wearing pull-ups. I'm close friends with her and I don't think I've ever seen her go to the bathroom to pee. Maybe she does at home, but I've never seen it. After sitting for a few minutes, a couple girls, Kate included, stand up abruptly and quickly make their way to the stalls, managing to stay dry. Suddenly Gabby speaks up. I'm peeing, she announces. This is another quirk of potty training class. If you were having an accident and you noticed, you were supposed to say it aloud. Apparently it's supposed to help increase awareness of when you're going and you get changed immediately after, so you can't just sit in it. With Gabby I can't help but feel bad. I probably got her upset before class, and she lost focus. As soon as Gabby was finished she went up to the changing table where Mrs. Hernandez was already waiting. Mrs. Hernandez then drew the curtain in front of the table so Gabby could be changed in private. However, as soon as Gabby reached the table, Michelle also spoke up. I'm pooping, she declared. Are you sure you don't want to try and finish on the toilet, Michelle? Mrs. Hernandez asked. No, too late, Michelle said in a now strained voice, off her chair in a familiar squatting position. Michelle finished, exhaled, and then walked up to the changing table and patiently waited for Gabby to finish being changed, with a noticeable lump in the seat of her pull-up. The period continued. I just got caught up on my reading for my next class, English. Eventually the bell rang and everyone shuffled out. Once I stood up I realized my pull-up was a bit wet. I went without even noticing. This was disappointing, but not too unprecedented for me. I considered changing, but I wasn't that wet, and I didn't really want to be late for English. I was a bit scared about English, cause I thought there may be a chance I was the only one wearing diapers, but luckily Andrew decided to wear his goodnight today. Of course he was just an occasional bedwetter so he didn't actually need it, but still it was better than being the only one wearing. I sat with him. We were discussed the changing scene in Romeo and Juliet. We learned Romeo and Juliet were only 16 and 13 respectively, and kids trained a little quicker back then, but Juliet was written as being yet untrained in matters of the stool. There's some debate as to whether Shakespeare did this to accentuate her young and naive nature, or if he was just being realistic for the time period. Either way, Romeo and Juliet's love is fully confirmed over one of the most famous diaper changes in media history. Nowadays changes are a bit more casual, but in Shakespeare's time only a spouse or parent changed a young lady's napkin. So when Romeo did, it was used as a metaphor to show just how close they were really growing. Although Shakespeare used rather beautiful and flowery language to describe the scene, we also learned it actually would have been very gross. In the Elizabethan era, cloth diapers were kind of new, Just basically layered cloth pads that tie together, and that was if you wore one at all. Juliet did because she was higher class, but most children just wore tunics with nothing underneath and just let it out whenever. They also hadn't yet learned that leaving a diaper unchanged was unclean, so Juliet probably would have been changed maybe 2 to 3 times a week and then put into another one without wiping or powder or anything. If Romeo could change Juliet's 3-day-old diaper and still love her enough to kill himself, maybe I could find someone, I daydreamed. After we finished discussing, we decided to read some passages aloud. Of course I realized I needed to pee then, when I was only 2 people away from reading. So I either needed to leave now and they would awkwardly skip me, or I could just go in my pull-up. I thought for a minute, started getting out of my chair to go to the bathroom, and then my bladder decided for me as I began flooding my pull-up. I just sat back down and mentally prepared myself to read a passage about a dirty diaper while wearing my own. I read my passage, and class finished soon after. Andrew pulled me aside in the hallway just after. "Did you feel awkward being one of the only people wearing during that class?" "'Cause I did," he asked. "I definitely would have, but I was very in my own head that whole class," I responded. "Why? Is something wrong? Do you want to talk about it?" The minute he said that, I snapped out of my head for just a second. Does he actually care about me? I'd never had a guy care about my emotional well-being before. Quickly everything flooded back though. My pull-up is soaked. I have to blow him off and go to gym to have time to change. Honestly yes, but I have to go change right now. You wanna talk at lunch? I tried to give him like a sweet smile to show I genuinely wanted to talk to him, but at the same time I was cursing myself for drawing attention to the pull-up that was currently almost sliding off my hips. "Okay, cool, see you then," he said as I started heading quickly to gym. I waved by with one hand and held my pull-up in place with the other. I'm sure I looked like an idiot. 8. Gabby and I made our way across campus to potty training. Kate and Gabby quickly started talking about boys. Kate had just recently started seeing a guy from another school, and Gabby has been dating a guy in our class, Joseph, on and off for the past year or so. I was single, I'd talked to guys, but I haven't really gone out on dates or done anything else, so I didn't really contribute anything to their conversation besides awkward silence. "Are you okay, Sabrina?" Gabby asked. "I guess, I don't know, I'm just kinda down today." I spat out, upset about what happened during drama. Gabby inquired. I took a big sigh before responding, "No, I mean it certainly didn't help, but really filling out the survey this morning kind of bummed me out. I just realized my answers have barely changed since I started wearing pull-ups like 3 years ago, and I just feel behind." Trainer, my potty training app, says I've only been making it to the toilet like a quarter of the time. I feel like almost all the girls in our grade are either trained or making progress towards it, and I'm just stuck. "Everyone is ready at a different time," Kate quickly responded. "Yeah, it's not like you aren't trying. I know that you are, and that's all you can do. Everyone's body is different," Gabby added. I just nodded. Of course I recognized the cliched platitudes repeatedly told to every kid struggling with potty training, but I didn't feel like pushing that issue with them would do any good. I just looked up at Gabby in the eyes and cut the BS and asked about what was really bothering me, though in hindsight maybe I shouldn't have. "What does Joseph think about you not being trained yet?" I prodded. Anxiety flashed across her face momentarily before she recomposed herself. "He's supportive of my training, and he recognizes that I'm making